Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast. We're coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene.
I'm John Popko from Alt 92.1 and the host of Alt Natives on Alt 92.1 on Saturday nights.
And we are here with Zack, Hammond, and Dan Hoppel, two local comedians who have been performing on the National Brewery Comedy Tour. So they're going to share stories about touring around the country and talk about how that compares to audiences locally, being offensive in 2018 and what exactly that means. Making a living as a comedian, Zack's new album, Utilitarian, which was recorded locally in Plains, and more. So please join our conversation. If you want to know anything about stand-up comedy, if you want to know about how to tell better jokes, maybe how to get into it, anything about these guys, past and present, we're going to talk about it all. So please leave your questions and comments down below. We would love to hear from you. The show is much more fun when you guys participate. I'm expecting some trolls tonight, so let's make that happen as well. If you have some fucking balls, you are going to get roasted tonight if you try that. But by all means, jump in if you feel free to do that. And this episode is probably at some point not going to be for the easily offended. So if you're not a fan of real talk, if you can't talk about actual real things in the adult world and you're offended by words and stuff like that, then this is probably not the show for you.
This is R. Kelly. Real talk. You ever see that video?
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
song. It's great.
So, and please share. If you're having a good time tonight, if you enjoy the show, stick around for the full hour. Please share the link. Facebook is really trying to kill us with the live streams for some reason. We're not reaching as many people.
Just say it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
He's a dick.
I usually
a
call him,
robot dick.
I usually refer to him as Zuckerfuck.
Yeah, there exactly.
I hate using Facebook, but obviously it's where most of our fans are. So
We prefer Jesse Eisenberg over you.
Yes. And that says something.
Yeah.
Especially after his Batman v Superman.
I was going to say, I'll even take Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg over.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and that's pretty bad.
Question.
I know, right?
So please stick around for the full hour. We would enjoy hearing from you. Also, we got to plug our sponsors. Tonight is Glass Night at Beer Boys in Wilkes-Barre, right down the street from us here. They provide us with these wonderful crawlers every week, usually whatever they have on special, and then a couple other treats. So there's an interesting one in here tonight. So you can tell
Dude,
us what
I
you have?
can't wait for this. I saw they posted it like 2 days ago, and it's the MIA Beer Company Hard Water Cucumber.
So it's
Is that real?
Yeah, that's
That's not like a joke?
Hard water. Yeah.
Hard water.
Well,
can
they've
hydrate
done
and-
hard soda and everything
In the
else.
90s, I remember seeing commercials for lawsuits about hard water, so I'm surprised that it's
Yeah,
a drink
there's
now.
just a shitload of calcium in there.
Right?
I can't wait.
There's some lead
Next
in
week, are
there.
they putting out a mesothelioma one? I don't...
Isn't hard water just vodka? Like, isn't...
That's what I'm thinking. Like, they
Just a can of vodka.
They just water.
Yeah.
Just a can of vodka.
That's
Just
watered
cucumber
down
vodka. Yeah, okay. There is that too. Maybe that's what they're doing.
I don't know. I don't know how this works. So
Well, we're gonna try. We're gonna find out.
Yeah.
They also gave us the Hogarden White, which I think is on special
Yes,
tonight.
that's the special
Oh,
tonight.
like Hogarden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Are you guys gonna drink tonight?
I don't drink, so...
I generally don't, and I'm on antibiotics, so fucking let's do it.
Thank God. It's always us. Like we're just getting
I'll
You gotta ask,
I'll
I guess,
definitely
that's
try some of the stuff.
Yeah, Dan's
I'm
trying
not
more
gonna-
to be like his family every day. So, yeah, let's
Dad?
drink while
Yeah.
you're on antibiotics.
I'm trying my best.
And the last one is Robin
It's just
Hood
the start.
Raspberry Wheat.
we're early yet.
I can't even begin to describe to you how much I connected with the end of Infinity War, just seeing everybody turn to dust. And I was like, Dad? Mom? What is happening?
Yeah, but they're all gonna come back in the next movie.
Fuck Spider-Man. I
Those
felt
parents
great. Oh, life sucks.
For them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
You got their
you're still
money.
around.
Yeah, I'm rolling in it.
What are we having first?
Well, hey, let's start with that water. I mean, we're talking it up, so I gotta try it.
Will you try even a sip of them?
No.
Not even a sip?
No.
All right.
He doesn't drink. We need to start having guests that drink all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, but he's, I mean, He just chooses not to. It's not like
Yeah.
he has a
Yeah.
problem or something.
No.
At least
The only reason people don't drink is because they have a fucking problem.
No. I know who I am sober, and I don't want to see who I am drunk.
I'm kidding.
I'm not.
That's actually
I very much want
that's
to
the
see who
best.
he is
That's
drunk.
the best reason I've heard not to drink.
Looks like Crystal Pepsi.
Oh, it does. That's probably what it is. It's just all the leftover Crystal Pepsi that they couldn't.
I think it's
sell.
like cucumber lime or something like that. And you just want to taste, right?
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
We fill it up all the way.
No, please don't. I don't want to waste it. Thank you so much.
Make sure you swig it in your
And this,
mouth.
what's the name of this one?
This is by the MIA beer company called Hard Water Cucumber.
You have a spit cup, so just use it like wine.
Yes. Fucking swirl it, swish it, you fuck.
You fuck at the end of it?
That's not what I
If you
said.
drink enough, yeah.
All right, you better start drinking then.
No.
It is good.
Oh, it's nice, yeah.
It's refreshing.
It's
is.
very refreshing. It seems like it'd be a nice summer drink.
Yes,
Like sitting out on a patio or something.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what is the alcohol in this. Like,
I
what
don't
is
know.
the alcohol content, whatever.
Because I started.
The
I
owner
was-
probably just jizzed in it. That's
Ryan would
what
never
I
that.
would do.
No, I used to drink cucumber vodka and water with
Oh,
ice.
okay.
It's nice and refreshing. This is kind of. I like the
Yeah, no,
carb-
this is real
the
good.
carbonation is
I
really
dig
good.
it.
So thank you, beer boys.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Fuck, if you told me we get free beer, I would have been here a long time ago.
That's been the thing for like the past year now.
Yeah. Did you guys
That
give
means
us?
You're not watching the podcast.
Yeah.
You just
Did you guys bring the gifts
You've
for
been
us?
outed.
Well, okay, so we didn't actually get anything from there. If we did, we totally would have brought it. Did you bring anything?
I didn't bring anything. I got something, but I didn't bring anything.
It also was a big letdown. It said it was like the biggest one,
In the South.
and it was not
it was
that.
not.
No.
Didn't seem like it.
It was definitely nicer than the ones around here.
Oh, yeah.
For those who don't know, we're talking about an adult video store and
In Tennessee.
in Tennessee and other adult novelties. They had a lot of dildos.
A lot of dildos. And
lot.
they had fat girl blow up doll, a
you
skinny
can't
girl blow
discriminate
up
these
doll.
days.
No.
You can't.
They had a dirty horse sister asshole pussy combo. That was nice to just look at. And
I just stood there for 5 minutes.
took pictures with it.
we did.
Yeah, we did.
We had to decide which ones were Facebook friendly and which ones weren't.
Right.
None of them were Facebook friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to get zucked.
I will say this much: they had a lot of glass cases with stuff displayed in it.
There's a lot of
They had,
glass
like-
things inside.
Yo, yeah. They had like a 60-inch television playing like this really, I forget the name of the company, but it was some company that makes like really
Like
high,
Vivid, I think.
Vivid or something like that. Makes like high-end, not high-end, I mean like high production value porn.
Yeah.
Like there was a Top Gun spinoff that was playing when we were there, and it was they had
Yeah,
jets
they
in the
used,
movie.
like, actual directors. And
Yeah,
shit
like it was
for the
weird.
movies.
Well, I was looking for a picture of you two guys together quick because I just finished the open mic. I'm like, oh, I got to post something about the show tomorrow before I get home and like make the actual photo that everybody else saw
Right.
of here's what we're doing and here's what the show's about and that kind of stuff. So I mean the fact that the nicest one was you guys together in front of an adult outlet store
Says
I
a
think-
lot about our relationship.
Yes.
Exactly. And I thought it summed it up pretty well.
Yeah,
It does.
us.
I think that's us in a nutshell.
Because as soon as we saw the billboard, we're like, we're fucking going there.
Oh yeah,
There was no question.
like we could have done anything.
So outdoor advertising works.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yes.
Billboards are still a viable option.
They are. So long as
Weird.
you're promoting something that people want to see.
Right.
Right.
And largest adult bookstore in Tennessee. Something I want to fucking see.
Well, somebody who I know will not be offended by tonight's podcast, the V Spot. Let's talk about them too. They're our other sponsor, one of the most popular bars in northeastern Pennsylvania, with live entertainment every night of the week. They even let us do our thing on Tuesdays, which is usually offensive to some people. Now this week they have the dynamic duo on Wednesday. They're definitely going to get sued by DC Comics. Aaron McKelland on Thursday, Mountain Sky Orchestra on Friday. Those guys are great. Another Day Dawns on Saturday. We're talking with those guys about maybe being on one of the future shows coming up. And DJ Huff is hosting karaoke on Sunday. And NEPA Scene Rising Talent is back for a new month on Tuesday nights, so make sure you come down. As long as you perform at least twice in the month, you're eligible for the online poll and the prize this month. So if you want to vote for last month's people, it's nepascene.com/rising-talent. You can go there now and cast your vote, which you can do once a day right up until the end of October.
It's pretty competitive too, judging by how many people are individually messaging me and asking for votes.
Yes.
I've been surprised by that. I knew once you switched to online, people were going to go insane with campaigning for themselves, and
Yes.
it happened.
Yes, it's definitely changed the dynamic
Yes.
a little bit.
Yes.
Which I just wanted to try it just to
Oh
see
no,
how
I'm
it
not.
would work.
I find it interesting. Somebody messaged me and they were like, I forgot how the wording they used was like, they're walking all over me or they're destroying me or something like that.
Yeah.
And I go and look at this person's thing and they were tied for first place. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Now you're just lying to get votes. I don't know.
Because you have to build a story. Nobody gives a shit about you as an individual. You have to have a story behind you. That's how America's Got Talent works.
That's true.
So my whole family's dead.
See? I keep telling you to use that, and no, I'm better than that.
No, I'm not. Let's be real. No, I'm not.
Are we sitting here with two winners?
One winner.
He was and he was the runner-up.
Like 3 times. It's ridiculous.
I know, right?
Always a
the
bridesmaid.
This is really good.
Getting fucked by the groom's friend.
In fact, that's what led to your first album was from,
My second,
from that. The
actually,
second album.
yeah.
Second album, that's right. The first time we did the contest, you
Yeah.
won, and then 25/8 Studios recorded the first album.
Marky did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was good. It turned out really well, actually.
Good
Yeah.
show and a great
Very
album.
happy
That
with
was the one that we did in Stroudsburg, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Origins. Yeah, that was a great show. Good album.
Thank you.
That's Appalling, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Appalling, now available.
Well, let's
I don't
talk
promote
about
myself.
And
Dan
more.
does all
I
that.
got you.
let's talk about how you guys got into comedy, and then we'll get into the albums and stuff. So
Your story's way more compelling than mine.
My story's more compelling, but it's also been told
Funnier.
on the podcast before. So what I would say is watch episode like 20 or 25
I wasn't here
or
for
something.
that one, so
I'll give you the abridged
speak
version.
to me.
Yeah.
I will
Yes.
give you the abridged version.
Give him the Cliff Notes.
I was a big fan of stand-up my whole life, and I was married.
Dan's wife cheated on him.
You did. That's the gist
She
of it.
was a bitch and didn't want to let him do comedy, and then he was
That's
like,
not-
"What's happened here?" And he's like, "I'll do comedy now." So
I never
that's what
actually
happened.
said anything about comedy to her. It was never something
because
of
he
being
knew
held
she
back.
wouldn't support it.
She would have
Hope she's
supported it as long
watching.
as there was a different dick inside of her. Sorry, you're cool.
Sorry, not sorry.
It's
She
a joke.
knows-
She'll be
she
fine.
knows what she did.
Yeah, she's fine. She's all right.
you know what you
She's an adult. She knows who she did.
Tress. She's an adult Tress.
But that's what happened. I'd always loved comedy. I was a big Pete Holmes fan. He famously was starting out as a comic when he got divorced.
cheated on.
Who got cheated on and got divorced. And 13 days after my marriage ended, I did stand-up for the first time, and I never looked back. I never planned on it being more than a 1 or 2 time thing. I just wanted to see if I could do it, and
That's what
I
she
met-
said.
yeah.
Hey man, I don't know why you're joking about such a serious thing.
It's very
It seems like it's okay.
Yeah, you're fine. But yeah, that's basically it. I've heard you talk about it, but yours was more of just always being a fan of comedy, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to get into it, and my girlfriend at the time found an open mic in Scranton at what used to be the Clarion. And as soon as I turned 21 so that I could get into the bar, I did my first open mic, and it really fucking sucked. Second time I went up, it was better, and then I enjoyed it. I liked getting laughs, and I knew I was different, so I just kept going back, and eventually it became a career.
So how do you think that your act has improved and developed and evolved over the years?
I've just become a far better comic. I know how to convey ideas. I know how to generate material quickly. And I just know how to do it better now. Like when I first started, it was saying whatever was at the top of my head, but I didn't know how to make everybody else understand what I was saying. So I just came off like a lunatic. And then now, I'm still a lunatic. I just know how to make people like me for being a lunatic. That's it. I mean, there's not a lot to it.
No, I
For
mean,
me,
that's why
anyways.
people always ask, like, how do I start doing comedy?
Just do it.
Write jokes, go tell jokes. That's there's no magic, and just
Are
do it
people laughing?
over
You're
and
doing
over.
it right. Are they not laughing? You're fucking up. Make it better. Like,
big-
it's that simple.
Yeah.
And nobody understands that.
Nobody wants to grind, which is the biggest
No,
problem.
not at all.
Nobody wants to put, like, everybody wants to say, I'm going to be a comic, and then in a week I'm going to be famous.
No, they just want to say I'm a comic. That's it.
Well, not, okay, yeah, but that's,
That's
what
it. They
that-
just
that's
want to
it.
get
They-
on stage, say whatever's in their fucking head, and then they think that they're Bill Hicks because nobody reacted to them. It's like, well, no, that's not how it works at all. If they're not laughing, you're doing something wrong. It's called comedy.
Yeah, you're not Bill Burr in Philadelphia. You're an asshole
No.
in Scranton who literally should not have been laughed at in the first place. Like,
No.
that's what happened.
And it's a lot more than just telling jokes. I mean, there's a lot of preparation. I'm assuming, how you set things up and
Yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah, there's a lot of work behind the scenes to
Right.
make it work out well when you're on stage, but at the same time, that behind the scenes process is also in front of everybody as well. You can't practice comedy the same way that you practice music. You
Sure.
have to be in front of people
Right.
to know if something's funny. So you have to be willing to bomb a lot to figure out what works and what doesn't. But the thing that I've noticed is a lot of people are just content with bombing all the time and thinking that they're getting better, but they're not getting the results that would show that they're getting better. They just keep bombing over and over again and then act like I'm edgy and I'm really clever. And it's like, well, no, if nobody's laughing, you're not doing it right. You're not learning from anything. I've seen so many people who have been doing the same set, like the same 5 minutes. They never developed anything else. They never changed it, doing the same 5 minutes, getting the same exact either
Yeah, it's not even a
no
good 5
reaction
minutes.
or reaction, and it's not even like a great reaction, and they don't change it, they don't fix it, they think that they're doing just fine, and I don't understand that just that mindset of you see other people that are doing more than you, even on a small scale. How do you not recognize that you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish? Like if you're just constantly doing, a bar show for free that people barely show up to and nobody gives a shit who you are, and you're not like, if you're not like actually killing in a room, and I mean people are dying laughing and they're coming up to you afterwards going, that was amazing, I've never laughed so hard, and genuinely mean it, you're doing something wrong. Like you're not going to get further in your career or whatever you want to call it if you are not like really just fucking going hard and getting people to die laughing. If you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong, and so many people do not recognize that.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, Zack's been touring for a while, but the Brewery Comedy Tour is my first real chance at touring at all. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I have learned, and the great thing about being away from my home area is it's all strangers all the time, which is nice because I feel like a lot of comics have this thing where they're performing for their friends and they're performing for the people who come every week, and they're not trying to actually, like Zack said, grow an audience of any sort, try to make fans out of people.
Right.
And I find that really interesting because those people are not the ones who are going to give you a career eventually.
No.
It has to be everybody else. I personally, when I perform, I don't care how my friends react. I don't care how the people I see every week, the other comics, I don't care. I've done shows where people laughed and the comics didn't. I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. If the audience is laughing, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people have a weird gauge for what is laughter, for starters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, a lot of the comics who perform with us, who you would think would know, not with us, but at open mics and stuff, you would think they would know some of the basics of comedy. But you were talking before about how to write jokes and how much preparation goes into it. I was just at a party recently where somebody was really drunk and they were talking to their friends and they were like, he didn't know I was a comic either. He had no idea. I was just with my girlfriend who, that's the only connection I had. And he said something like, oh yeah, stand-up comedy is, 90% of those famous comics, they just get drunk and go up there and ramble. And I'm like, dude, you have no fucking idea what you were talking about.
Right.
If there's any special you have ever watched, you cannot imagine how many nights that comic has said those exact words that sound like they're coming off the top of his head over and over and over and honed them and refined them, and it is nothing like just getting up there and blathering about it.
in video, and then it's also how you present it, and
Oh, absolutely.
usually the look on your face when you deliver
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
At best, I'm a C- writer. but I do goofy things when I perform, and that gets me a little bit over. But it's the truth. Like, so much of it is, you could take great material, and if you just say it in a monotone, if it doesn't work for that material, it's not going to work. It's not going to get a reaction. Where there's some material that works for that, or that the performer might work very well like that. But for the most part, people, and that's another thing, they don't take their, like, they're just worried about the words and not about how they're saying the words and where they're pausing and how much timing goes into, between the setup and the punchline and all this stuff. And it seems like a lot of people don't really work on it, which I find surprising. Nobody records themselves, which blows my mind.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to record yourself all the time.
Whether it's audio and
at
video.
the very least, audio.
Yeah, at the very least.
At the very least, audio should be almost constant.
Yep.
Every time I do a new joke, I always record it the first 4 or 5 times, just so I have an idea of where I started at.
Yeah. And you also hear the audience and how they reacted to it and how you can change it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that also helps you later on when you're actually building an act, that audiences will react the same way almost every single time. I had a bit in my last album about how there's 7 billion people on the planet. The only rational reason you should have for having a kid is organ farming. That's the only rational reason. And it's really easy to get a kid. If you can't physically have one, you can just go to an orphanage and pick one out. It's not like anybody cares about those kids. That's why they're orphans in the first place. And see, and you're shaking your head. And the best thing about that is a lot of audiences will either shake their heads or they'll go, ooh, because that's for them too much. And then I get to point out, okay, if you're really upset by that, then you can go adopt a kid right now and fix the problem. Otherwise, stop reacting like you're above a goddamn joke.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I've seen that joke so many times.
Yeah.
The setup, like the first half of it, does well almost all the time. But there are some people, that's the whole reason the second half exists.
Right.
Because some people pull back immediately. Second half always tears it down. Always, because it speaks to that part that everybody knows is going on in them that they don't want to admit, and he just hits it right after the fact.
Right.
And so everybody who wasn't on board necessarily is on board.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, there's a lot of people I think that think they're very funny. That think, oh, he's the funny guy in the group. Get him to
everybody
go
thinks
up,
they're funny.
go up.
Everybody.
And,
There are people who are
whatever.
legitimately funny too in their group of friends or whatever.
Sure,
Right.
but it doesn't translate the same way to the
That's
stage.
situational comedy. That's your life is a sitcom when you're like that.
Right.
Every joke you're making is based on the rapport you have with all your friends and the history you all
We
share.
know each other's backstory.
Right.
That group of strangers in front of you doesn't.
Right. And then having to set up a joke and literally lay out all the facts that are needed to make the joke make sense, but do it quickly without losing people's interest or being boring. That's where that's where it really gets lost in translation, because somebody who's naturally funny with their friends necessarily can't do that.
No.
Right.
They're just good at whipping out, like they hear something or think something and it relates to something they've been through, and they just make a joke that everybody can. Do you have pink eye? Are you okay? You look rough over there.
I do.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
I have pneumonia, so I wouldn't worry about it. You're fine.
Yeah. No, I do.
All
The
right.
third time this year.
Yeah, what the fuck?
How did you pick that out so quickly? I got it on Sunday, so I'm not contagious anymore.
Okay.
So
I wasn't worried about you being contagious, to be honest. I have enough of shit going. Like, pink eye would be the least of my worries right now.
Dan just wants to make himself feel better.
Yes.
That's all it is.
That's it. That's
I've never had pink eye before, so it's
Really?
like, yeah, it's
So
like
who farted on your pillow?
my son.
Oh,
Aww.
Yeah, I'm convinced that I probably changed a shitty diaper and like an idiot, I probably didn't wash my hands well enough, and
Oh,
here we are.
that's, yeah.
Here we are. You know.
well, organ farming.
Yeah.
That's why I have a vasectomy. You never have to worry about that.
But yeah, it's weird. I actually had a funny joke. Situational. I was talking to my friend, told him about the pink eye. I said, I spent years of my life in a strip club. Nothing ever happened. I'm a fucking kid in daycare, and my life's falling apart.
So what you're saying is
Your
kids,
kid is more disgusting than a stripper.
That's what I was. Yeah.
I think that's fair.
The daycares are disgusting.
Yeah, that's true.
No, they're just little animals, you know?
Yeah.
They are. If you, like, is it one of those things where, like, if they get sick, it just keeps going around the house
Yeah.
for like months at a time? Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks, man.
It's a nuclear bomb of disease.
And well, real quick, I mean,
go
like,
ahead.
the one we took them to was like one of the. You walk in and it smells fucking clean. Like it's like one of the cleanest ones we saw, and it's just.
But
Kids
they
are
can't
kids.
control the kids
No, kids are
touching
kids.
each other.
Yeah,
and
they pick
Yeah,
up.
they pick stuff. They're touching.
They put it in their mouth.
Yeah,
and
oof.
daycare does a really good job. All right, it was in your mouth. Let's take it. They wash it and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But it's just too much. The kids are drooling and shit. Like, it's weird. It's a weird situation. But
Kids are
enough
gross.
about my life and my problems. We're here to talk about you guys.
So let's talk about the comedy tour that you guys are on. So it's a brewery comedy tour. So it's very
Yes.
straightforward in where you're going.
Yes.
So how does that whole thing work exactly?
So I have a manager through Herron Entertainment who just sends me out all over the country, and we do wineries and breweries, and then I think we're going to be adding some kind of thing at some point to that. But he works out deals with all of these breweries and wineries in the country, and then I get to pick my own opening acts. So I've brought Dan with me and our friend Pat George. A couple other comics that I brought with me have been Kevin Brocious, Jonathan Miles, Bill Russum. I think that's it.
If I could really quickly say, just because they're not here to save themselves, all those names that were just said, please look them up. They are
Yeah.
hilarious comics.
So I get to pick my own opening acts, and then I bring them out on the road with me, and then they usually do 15 to 20 minutes a piece, and then I close it out with like an hour 15. And then it's just a new audience every weekend, a different group of people that's based off of that state city and their culture and their the people that are there all the time, and we're in different places constantly. 2 weeks ago, we were in Crofton, Maryland, and then we went down to Florence, Alabama, then Prestonburg, Kentucky, and then to Pittsburgh, which all four of those are different groups of people, different audiences,
Different venues. Totally
different
different.
senses of humor, and they're all serving different kinds of, their own beers that they're brewing. And it's fun. The travel is fun because we're just sitting in a car for hours on end, just saying some of the worst shit that we can think of to make each other laugh.
Yeah.
And then we're going in front of new audiences every night, and then we have to figure out what their reactions are going to be to the things that we do. Like when we went to Kentucky, we were staying at a resort, the Jenny Wiley Resort in Kentucky, and the only thing that we were told was, don't make fun of religion, because these are the kind of people that'll beat the shit out of you if you make fun of it.
Right.
And then Dan and Pat are like, so are you going to make fun of religion? I'm like, no, I think I'm going to sit this one out. I have enough material that I don't want to have the shit beaten out of me by Kentuckians. So,
Right.
But that's one of those things where that's the difference between like an open mic comic and a professional comic, in that if you're told not to do something, I remember when I was an open mic, I'd go, fuck you, I'll do whatever I want. And then I would bomb. I would go, oh, okay, that's why they told me not to do that.
Right.
So then you learn how to still be yourself, but entertain an audience as well. Outside of doing jokes on religion, I still did my entire act. All the jokes that I've developed over the years, and they were still just as dark and crass and offensive, and the audience enjoyed it. They loved it. I sold merchandise afterwards, which means they liked it. They came up to me afterwards and told me they enjoyed it. So that's the fun part about being on the road, is figuring out what an audience is going to like and curtailing your act to that. Not necessarily doing jokes for them, but figuring out what jokes that you have that'll actually appeal to them as well. And that's why you have to write and perform as much as you can, so that you can have that catalog of material to draw from and entertain a group of people that you've never had to before.
Now, do you write any jokes specifically about the area or anything? I know when I would interview comedians coming through the area, a lot of times they'd ask me like, "Oh, what's Scranton like?" or "What's
Yeah.
Wilkes-Barre like?" or whatever, to kind of get an idea, to maybe like throw a joke in at the beginning or something like that.
Sometimes I do, but I understand why to do it, because it gets the audience on your side.
Sure.
But I also like developing stuff that I know is going to work everywhere, so that when I do an album, I'm not throwing anything away. Like, I have stuff that's going to work everywhere. So anything
Right.
that I do that's specific to a place, I try to make it so that it's a bit or a story that I can tell anywhere. So sometimes it'll be about something that happened on the way there, and we can kind of joke about it, or it's just a story that happened at the last place that I'm telling the new place. And if it works there and they have no idea about, like, say, West Virginia or whatever, or at least where we were, and I'm able to tell a story that they still laugh at, that's a good piece of material, because an audience that doesn't know anything about the area that I was just in thought it was funny. So that's something that I can add to the catalog and use at a later date.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So, do you have any stories or anything that stick out in your mind of specific shows or people that you met or anything on the road? I'm sure there's probably been a few things that have popped up over the years.
I'm trying to think, what are some of the weird things we've encountered just in the last couple of months?
So, this one will probably get me in trouble. We were in Vermont. Actually, two stories. One was from Vermont. The other was from New Hampshire. So we were doing a brewery in Vermont. I was closing out the show. I think I was like 35 minutes into my act, and I was doing a bit about suicide and how, because I don't have any children, people will ask me, like, well, who's going to take care of you when you get older? It's like, oh, right, that's the only reason why you have kids is to breed little Willy Wonka slaves that are going to take care of you when you get older. That's the only reason why you make people.
Right.
And I said, I'm not, nobody's going to take care of me. I'm just going to kill myself before retirement. And this is a whole thing about how does a comic figure out when retirement is, and it is 3 days before I can't wipe anymore. That's what retirement is for a comedian. And there's this guy sitting at the corner, and he sat through me talking about murdering innocent people, how it's wrong to have children, making fun of Indian people, 9/11 jokes. He sat through all of that. I made a joke about me killing myself, and he just fucking flipped and started yelling at me, telling me that I was a pussy, that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, all I'm doing is speaking bullshit. And he starts pointing to a service dog and goes, you don't understand what I've been through. And I'm like, did all of your dogs kill themselves? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I get off stage, and he's crying to some lady at the other end of the bar about how the comic was mean to him.
Legit cry.
Yeah.
Not euphemistically. He was. There were tears rolling down his face.
And I'm an asshole, so I see him crying, and I go, hey, look who's crying now, pussy. So he gets up, and I'm keeping him in my peripheral because he seems like somebody that's going to hit me.
Yeah.
And he stops, he points at me, he goes, you suck. You're going to go to hell and die, and starts walking away. And I go, sir, I'm pretty sure that I'm supposed to die, then go to hell. I think you have the order backwards. I'm not very religious, but I think that's the order of operations. And he just walked out pissed off, while Dan and Pat are just laughing.
And it's worth pointing out that it wasn't just Zack yelling at him.
Yeah.
Zack was having a great set. This audience loved him.
Yeah.
And after, like, it's weird. Normally, if somebody starts shit like that, the audience will be tentative and wait and see what happens. After like 30 seconds, they started like soft, like, shut up, man. And then there were people straight up yelling at him, including me. Like, it was just, it got to the point where it was like people were pissed this guy was talking. He was taking away from what was a very good show at that point.
Because they're there for the show.
Yeah,
They're
like
there
that's
to
the
listen to
thing
some
that's
guy.
beyond, like, so the other story was we were in New Hampshire, and we were in Vermont, in New Hampshire, we were through all the New England states, and I love accents, and we did not hear a single New England accent the entire time. Everybody that we talked to sounded normal to us. They didn't sound ridiculous. And we were doing a show in New Hampshire, and the brewery that we were in was oversold. There was standing room only. It was a packed room. And there were these women in the back who bought tickets and are talking over the entire show. And it blows my mind that, one, you're interrupting somebody else's evening. Like, everybody else came here to enjoy themselves, and now you with your fucking ego are taking it over. But also to pay money for something and then still talk over it blew me away. So I asked them, I was like, can you please stop talking? And they got called out, so they stopped, but then they went right back to talking. And I just pointed out, I was like, okay, this is what happens to drunk girls on a Saturday night. They get fucking drunk and they think they're the most important person in the world. And like just this beautiful angel New Hampshire man just screams out at them, will the goddamn horse shut the hell up? Shut your goddamn mouth, whore.
If you're going to hear an accent, that's
Yeah,
probably
that was the best
do
time to
it.
hear it. And then the best thing was, after the show was over, this dude sticks around buys CDs off of me, and then for 10 minutes just keeps going, oh, those goddamn whores wouldn't shut up. I'm like, oh, yeah, dude, I agree. Can you stop? Like,
Well, I said it on the last show that we had, when we had some comedians on the show, and I'll say it again. I think that comedians have it the hardest in terms of performers, because like musicians and stuff, even if you don't like the musician, people just kind of turn and talk, and you can't really hear because they're playing over them or whatever, and you kind of hide behind the guitar or whatever, so to speak, or a wall of sound that kind of gets rid of those people or whatever, and people don't know. I at least I haven't seen too many people ever get up and be like, oh, you suck, it off the stage or whatever. But with comedians, it's kind of like a constant thing if you're not in the right venue for it, or if you're at like an open mic or something like that. People seem to grow some balls all of a sudden off stage, and they're like, I'm going to yell at this guy the whole time, even though I know for a fact that I could not do that or what they're doing.
Thanks to Facebook memories, I know that 2 days ago was the 1 year anniversary of a guy threatening me at the V spot before one of the NEPA Scene open mic nights.
I remember that.
And my thing is, like, one of your albums is titled after somebody saying something to you after a show about how much they were offended by you, and I find that really interesting. I find the idea of being offended very interesting, because as far as I can tell, being offended means you said something that made me think about something that makes me uncomfortable, so I'm going to yell at you instead of just dealing with it in my own way.
Right.
Because that's really what 99% of it is.
It's selfish.
Like I've talked about cancer before, and people have been like, that offends me, my so-and-so died of cancer. Yeah, half my family did. Like, if you don't like it, walk away, change the channel, go to a different show. Like,
you don't have
grow
to be
the
here.
fuck
You don't
up.
have to listen.
Grow the fuck up.
You don't have to listen to anything that you don't want to.
Right.
And it's the narcissism and the ego. Yeah. Like, if you don't like something, that's fine. You don't have to like anything that you don't want to like. But to yell out for somebody to stop doing something that they're doing, not only is it rude, but at the same time, you're saying that because you don't like something, nobody else is allowed to enjoy it either, which blows my fucking mind, that you don't get to be the person that decides what's okay for everybody.
Right.
You're not a fucking priest or anything like that. You're not a politician. You don't get to try and decide what is okay for everybody. You're a useless fucking individual who has carpal tunnel from typing on your shitty computer all week long, and you came out to a show that you didn't like, and you didn't like the fact that you had to applaud for the person coming up on stage because it fucking hurt your hands because of your carpal tunnel. And now you're going to yell at them because you wasted $20 on a show that you didn't have the forethought to go online and look up the goddamn person who was going to be there. I have no sympathy for anybody that is ever offended at a comedy show, because they are advertised. They tell you who's going to be on the show. If you don't know who's going to be there and you're offended by something that you see, that's on you. And if you go to an open mic and you're offended, that's on you as well, because the stigma behind an open mic is always, you're probably going to see more shit than you are not. Like that, unfortunately, that's the stigma that open mics have. Yeah. You're gonna go to somewhere, you're gonna see a musician who plays a ukulele with one fucking string on it. You're gonna see a comic who just talks about rape as if it's the punchline the entire time. Right. You're gonna see people do poetry that doesn't even rhyme. You're gonna see a lot of fucking things that you don't like. That's the stigma of it. And to go in there and then hear it and then be upset by it, like, I don't fucking get it. Like, I don't understand. Not only that, but if you hear something that you don't like, why do you give a shit? It's not affecting you.
Right.
Like, and we did a show in North Carolina where before the show started, this woman comes up to us and she goes, what kind of show is this going to be? Is this going to be a dirty show or a clean show? Because I didn't come here for filth. It's like, okay, well, I came here to make money this weekend, so I don't give a shit what you're here for. You already paid for your ticket. I don't care. You don't get to decide who I am. You don't get to decide what everybody else enjoys tonight. And everybody else in the room that night is enjoying the show. And she's miserable, and it made me happier. So I don't fucking care if you're offended by something.
She's the same kind of person who would be flipping through the channels on her television.
Right.
See something that bothers her, and instead of just hitting the channel up button again, write a fucking letter to the cable network and her senator and all.
That's why I was worried about the state of comedy, because everybody, and I'll use this word, I think it's getting overused, but like everyone's triggered.
Yeah, they
You
are.
know, and it's like,
Can I point this out real quick? That's if I was like a veteran or something, or somebody who went through something super traumatic, I'd be offended by the way people so flippantly throw around the word triggered.
Yeah.
Because triggered does not mean I heard something I don't like. That's not what the fuck it means. It's a serious thing for people who have been through serious shit. And I'm not saying that to somebody listening to this who actually went through something. But people throw
But
that word
buckle
on.
up. Life's tough.
Yeah, it's the truth though. Like people have, you know what the worst part is? The people who've been through the most shit.
Usually have the best sense of humor.
Yeah,
about
and tend
it.
to be the least offended by it because they realize words are the last thing that's gonna fucking hurt them.
I don't understand why people can get offended though when they're going to a comedy show, because I mean, you should go to a comedy show
It's
expecting
ego.
I will
It's
say,
fucking ego and narcissism.
Right, it's just- but it's
I
like-
demand to see what I want to see.
Right, it's
well, that's
crazy.
your responsibility to do the fucking research then and look up.
But I wouldn't even do any. I'm not going
Because
to.
you're not a dickhead.
Well,
That's why.
There's that too. You're right.
but you might go to a show and not like any of the comics, and that's total.
I might not be finding it funny, but I'm not going to be like, oh my god, I'm offended. Like, let's
Right,
fucking
right.
start a fucking war.
I have all the respect in the world for somebody who does not like my comedy and sits there silently through my set. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You don't have to like.
I
it.
don't
That's-
leave. Fucking leave. I don't want you there. You're bothering me.
If you're not being disruptive, I'm okay with
Yeah.
it.
You are disruptive. You're not laughing. Get the fuck out of my show.
You like it when people stare angrily at you.
I get to point them out and make them uncomfortable, and then they leave.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
you're
funny.
you're doing this for a living now, so like,
Yeah.
is there any sort of fear? You see this all the time where professional comedians have been doing it for 20, 30 years, and they say one tweet that gets somebody pissed off, and it's like, oh, their career's over, they're done, we're going to blacklist them from everything, whatever. Is that ever crossed your mind at all?
I'm not famous enough for that to happen, so I don't care. I don't have.
Let's be honest.
I don't have any deals with any TV studios or anything that are going to drop me. But the best thing about comedy is if you have an audience, your audience will follow you everywhere. The only people that are getting mad are the people that don't even like you. So you can't be concerned about them.
Right.
Like if Bill Maher gets fired from HBO tomorrow, that doesn't stop him from renting a venue and his fans coming there to see him. He's still going to make a living. You can't stop somebody, or you can't stop people from going and seeing something that they want to see. The most extreme example of it being that Bill Cosby was convicted of rape.
right.
During like the trial, there are videos of him at a club in Philadelphia doing a show, and people showed up to it to see him. You,
Right.
you can't stop people from seeing what they want to see.
Right.
The dark web is proof of that. YouTube is proof of that. You
Well, look at all the-
you may lose out like on TV deals and shit like that, but you're not going to lose your audience. Your audience likes you because of the things that you say and do. So you may lose some lucrative deal that made your life cushy, but you're never going to lose the ability to tell people, this is where I'm going to be, and then they're going to show up. So I'm not concerned about that at all. I'm going to upset people. I know that I am, but the people that like me will continue to show up for me. So if you don't like me, I don't care.
When everybody was flipping out about Louis going back on stage at the Comedy Cellar for the
I was
first
going
time
to bring that
since,
up. Yeah.
the thing I don't understand is this, and I'm not condoning Louis at all. I personally think he's a scumbag. So I'm not going to pay money to go see him.
Right.
And if he was at a club that I was going to an open mic night at and he happened to come on and do a set, I'm going to walk out of the club and wait till he's done. Honestly, I'm lazy, so I'm probably just going to sit there. But my point is this. People are freaking out about this. Like, if you read any of the articles that were written about it after he performed and stuff, nobody actually has an answer as to how long, what's the punishment? How long? And
Right.
I'm not
how long he's supposed to be
I'm not
away, not what
condoning
he's
anything he
supposed
did.
to do.
But-
None of those things. They just say that he shouldn't have done that. Okay, well, what should he do? Like,
America's a free fucking market. This guy didn't have charges pressed against him. Therefore,
and again,
as-
Bill Cosby did, and people still showed up to his fucking show.
Right.
So I
I'm not-
don't know. Again, it's the audience, not the guy
Yes.
selling the shit.
you have a problem with it, use your wallet to say who you like and who you don't like.
Right.
But the idea of being like people are going after him saying like you shouldn't have the balls to get on stage. It kind of goes against what the point of this country is. Like
Right.
there were no charges pressed against him. He's a free man. He's allowed to do what he wants. But we have this weird like uber touchy kind of society now where people are just waiting for they're looking for some kind of rest period. Like we don't want to see Louis for X amount of time.
Right.
But then fine, don't see him. You
Right.
don't have to see him.
Right.
I don't want to see him. I'm not going to see him.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to write a letter to the comedy seller saying, fuck you, don't put him on. They're a business. They have a right to do what, like,
Right.
that's the way this world works. I'm like, if O.J. Simpson did a fucking book signing somewhere around here tomorrow,
Tons of people
Yeah.
would show
He's
up
already
to
been
it.
out taking
Yeah.
pictures and shit.
Absolutely. And people do all the time. They,
Yep.
they love him. So it doesn't make a difference. What's strange to me, I've just seen this shift in my lifetime. When I was growing up, it was very much, I'm a super liberal guy. I still am, always will be. I'm so liberal that a lot of my liberal friends are like, oh, that's too liberal.
Yeah.
But in my lifetime, the conservatives were, when I was young, they were the guys that were trying to censor everything you said.
Yeah.
And really coming after you. You know, you can't say this and you can't
Right.
offend people and whatever.
And now it's flipped.
And now it's the opposite, where it seems like this at least this big faction of the liberals are coming
Yo.
after their own kind.
they want
Yeah.
to censor
They're
everything.
eating their own.
They're not only coming after the conservative, but they're destroying themselves
Yes.
by
Yeah.
fighting amongst
Yep.
themselves. Like the perfect example, Stephen Colbert a few months back had made
the
a joke.
cock holster thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. He said, Putin is Trump's
Trump is
Trump
Putin's
is
cock holster.
Putin's cock holster. You know, making fun of them. Oh, they're fucking and stuff
Sure,
like
yeah.
that, or whatever. And these people came out and said, well, you're being homophobic and you must hate gay people.
Not
and it's
even
like,
remotely.
no, he's been an ally for
If
decades.
Putin
Like,
was
what are
a
you talking
female, or
about?
if Trump was a female, the joke would still stand. The point is not the homosexuality.
Yes.
It's the fact that our president is in bed with another world leader.
It's
Yeah.
he's
we
the
are
guy's
traditionally
bitch.
against.
That's what the
Yes.
joke is.
Yeah,
Has
that's
nothing
it.
to do
That's
with-
it.
Well, you have a joke like that where you actually even say in it, and don't say it's what's the word about
Oh, misogynistic.
misogynistic, because
Yeah, about it's a. I really don't want to get into it.
no. But the basic point of it is he makes a joke about getting into a fight
Something
with a
about-
girlfriend or wife or whatever.
Right, and how what I'm saying is not misogynistic because if I were gay, I'd feel the exact same way about my male partner as well. Like it has
Right.
nothing to do with harming a woman. It has everything to do with harming the person that I'm with at the time, which means I'm a fucking psychopath. It has nothing to do with being misogynistic.
See, and I think a lot of it comes from, like, a lot of liberals are like, okay, we can't be racist anymore. We can't say these things out loud. and
Yo, dude. Yo. We gotta stop being
racist
racist.
anymore.
You just got
no, stop saying
Put the racism in your
certain
back
words,
pocket.
Yeah.
Stop, pushing against certain
Yeah.
people, whatever the case may be. And
Well-
but then it goes to the point where it's like you're now censoring language that we can't even talk about race anymore,
Right.
whatsoever as a subject.
Netflix had to just
And
put out
then it just
a
ruins
fucking an official statement about Tom Segura's last special
Yeah.
because he has a bit about the word retarded, and people wanted the special taken down. Watch something else, man.
Right.
Right.
You're not being
Like,
forced to see this
It's
shit.
the mentality that liberals are going to right now to fucking hide what they don't want to see because of people's feelings is fucking insanity.
That's
It's absolute insanity.
That's what I don't understand. And the problem is too is that now you're destroying your own argument. You want to fight against Trump, you want to fight against misogyny, you want to fight against whatever. Stop fighting with yourself, with
Right.
your own group, your own supporters, people who you should be teaming up with, because the conservatives have gotten very good at that. They
Yeah.
can put aside their differences and all gather in large groups and vote or go to a Trump rally. And they're showing their power right
Right.
now. And meanwhile, we're sitting here arguing with ourselves over which word we can and can't use, and we're ruining
Because
our
it's
arguments.
thought control is the problem.
That's
They want
exactly
to control thought. It's not enough that. An example of it. One of my friends said on a podcast that he did not believe that transgendered people were real, or something. He didn't believe that they were being honest. That they're it's not actually who they are. They're just fucking around. They're not real people. Not that they're real people. That
Their identity crisis might
Right.
not be as real
yes,
as.
thank you. I couldn't
Right.
fucking right, but that doesn't stop him from believing that they should have the exact same rights and privileges as everybody else.
Sure.
Which, okay, that's tolerance. That's what
Yeah.
you should believe. That
Right.
okay, just because I don't agree or believe what these people are saying, that doesn't mean that I and removing their right to be a human being. But there were people calling him a bigot and saying that he's not a good person. It's like, dude, it's not even a matter of people agreeing with you now. They have to agree with you for the same fucking reasons as you want them to agree with you for, and that's Hitler type shit. Yeah. That's disturbing, and that's.
To point out, he would not walk up to a transgender person
No.
unsolicited and be like, I don't think you have an actual, like, I think you're just full of shit. He wouldn't do that.
Right.
That's not how he feels. He just has a person, and granted, I don't even want to touch that one, but like, he's entitled to believe what he wants to believe as long as he's not hurting anybody else with his actions. Sure. And he's clearly not.
I think the thing too is they would get farther if they want to change his mind.
Right.
They're not going to change his mind by screaming at him. They're not going to change his mind by trying to get him fired from something or delete his opinion from existence off the internet or whatever. The idea is you have to engage those people and say, well, you don't understand the psychology of it. Let me explain it to you. Let me show you studies. Let me show you this and that. And then he might go, oh, well, you know what? I am a straight guy. I didn't think of it this way before. Maybe I'm going to change my mind. Or maybe I'm going to look into it more. That's how you change opinions. That's how you change minds. You don't do it by this back and forth screaming at each other.
No, but you also need allies. Some of your allies are going to be not the best people, but they're still your allies.
Exactly.
I had a girlfriend in college whose parents were devout Catholic and very, very, very pro-life. But when they voted pro-choice because they recognized that their beliefs should not dictate how other people live their lives.
Right.
So you can still have your opinions so long as you're still on team people.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. You don't see that because a lot of people are those one-note voters that they vote specifically on one subject and that's it.
No,
everything else
everybody should have the right to do whatever the fuck they want so long as they're
not
not
hurting
harming other
anybody.
people. Yeah.
I
I don't give a shit.
I was at a bar in Tunkhannock and there was a transgender girl there, which I realize is a ridiculous statement that there was a transgendered person in Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania. I'm aware of how ridiculous that is. But I was there with a bunch of friends, and I didn't really know any of their stances on this. And also to point out, very attractive woman. Like, she was beautiful. And one of my friends was just like, oh, that's so disgusting, so gross. And I'm like, why? And he said, because why would you ever want to fuck that? And I'm like, but you don't have to, man.
It's not
Yeah.
you.
Nobody's forcing you. There's no law that's going to be passed that says you have to fuck somebody you don't want to fuck.
Yeah.
So maybe, who the fuck cares if somebody else does?
Yeah.
Right, get over your fucking weird sexual problems. Like, that's another thing. If people just got over the idea that sex is, like, meaningful, like, it's just a physical activity that you do, like playing basketball with your fucking friends. Stop acting like it's this special thing between two people. So many problems would go away. You would not care about other people's sexualities in any shape, way, or form if you stop fucking caring
If you really think
about
that
what
two
people
gay
do with their
people
private
or a
parts.
transgender person, or somebody else having sex is going to affect your life, that's kind of
Your
no
life's
problem.
fucked.
Yeah,
Right.
your life is already
So
fucked pretty bad.
Yep, exactly. It's well. Before we wrap up, I want to make sure that we
Let's get some
Can
of
we
that
get some
hate
good
in there.
questions in, or some hatred, or anything?
We got some.
some support from local comedians. Russell says he's laughing pretty hard
Fuck you,
already
Russell.
at the beginning.
Russell also brought up the
Russell, how many whiskeys have you had so far
the
tonight,
V
buddy?
spot incident was so funny.
Yeah.
He's trying to.
Well, it was funny
Poke
from,
the bear.
from his perspective, probably not from Dan's perspective. Shelley says Dan Hoppel, the Grow the Fuck Up tour. There you go.
Thanks, Shelley.
There you go.
Will Robin says, my son thinks Zachary is hilarious because he loves that Zach loves when picky audiences get more offended.
Oh, I love Will.
It was awesome.
Chris Jones says, you're the bomb.
Love you, Chris.
Hey, buddy.
My wife says, hashtag beat up Dan Hoppel.
Goddamn right.
Nikki Silveni says, I love these guys.
Aw.
Love you, buddy.
Hi, Nikki.
Cavett says, you guys are right on.
Thanks, man.
And Chris Jones says, how do I get in touch with people who would set up a comedy tour? Or, you know, how does that
Can I take this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, kill yourself. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Now.
No.
with a rope.
Zach would be the better one to answer this, but I will say this much. Chris books shows.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Chris books fun shows. I've had some fun shows with Chris. I've also bombed horribly in front of Chris's audiences. But, dude, keep doing what you're doing. Keep performing and keep booking shows and keep you're getting there, man. Just keep working at it.
You can set up your own tours. Just
Yeah.
contact venues, work out a door deal with them, make sure that they're promoting, get their staff to sell tickets to the show, incentivize the staff. Say, for every ticket that you sell that's $15, you get $5.
That's the biggest thing. Like, I feel like a lot of venues, especially in Northeast Pennsylvania, venues don't realize how much they have to gain by promoting their shows.
Yeah,
the V Spot. There's a reason the V Spot is almost always packed.
Right.
Because the V Spot fucking advertises what's going on there a lot.
Absolutely.
It's not like Vinny has some magic formula to getting people in there. He advertises. He lets people know what's going on. It's not hard. No, I'm not saying that to suck his dick. I'm serious. Like I don't even really like him. I think Vinny's
was
a
the
cunt.
advertising
But
part.
I'm kidding, Vinny.
That's what you do, and it works.
It does. It fucking works. And don't act like it's the performer's job alone to bring in an audience, especially with comedy. Like, that's just not how it goes.
Well, I feel like a lot of people that promoters are doing that now, where it's just a pay to play.
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah, they're called bringer shows, and they're bullshit because they don't accomplish anything because you just brought 5 of your friends and somebody else brought 5 of their friends. All of these people are only there to see their person. They don't give a shit about anybody else that's in the room. And then a lot of clubs will then have like a headliner at the end of the night, which is like a club regular. And it's like, okay, well, how many people did the headliner bring? They go, oh, well, they didn't bring anybody. Well, I don't know who the fuck the headliner is. And that's one of the reasons why I'm being forced to bring 5 people so that, I can justify my place here. I've never heard of them. Why the fuck don't they have to bring anybody? And why are they getting 30 minutes and doing very poorly in front of these people right now? It's bullshit. What my manager has done was he doesn't force anybody to bring anyone. He has the venue promote. He promotes himself as well. And then it's a matter of he's putting comics out on the road who are fucking hilarious. And if they put on a damn good show, that venue is going to want to do another show with him, and then those people that had a great time that night, they're going to come back because they want to go to another great show. That's how you do it. It's slow and it's steady and it takes a long time to build, but once you do that, you have created your own brand that everybody knows and everybody trusts, like
quality.
Ajax.
Absolutely. Like what?
Like Ajax.
We did shows on the brewery tour where we were the first time there was a brewery tour happening at that place.
Yeah.
And people said they wanted to come back the next time. We were also at places where it was the second time they were doing a brewery comedy tour show.
Yeah.
And there was a different group of comics and they had a good time. And that's why they came back out. And that's one thing that I think, Chris, that's another good point, man. Put good comics on your shows. That's one of the biggest mistakes I see comics make is just booking their friends. You book me, I'll book you. That's a terrible idea. If you don't have somebody who can do the time they need to do, or if you have to put 10 comics on a show just to fill up an hour and a half, you're not doing it right.
wrong.
You're not doing it right at all. And you have to give people that's the big. We're doing this to entertain people.
Right.
That's your job. You are an entertainer. They have to leave with a smile on their face. They have to forget what the fuck's going on in their life, and they have to just have fun. And if you're not providing that, why would they ever come back?
Right.
If you watched a movie where everything was inside jokes among the cast and
Like
the
a Seth Rogen movie.
yeah, Seth Rogen, are you going to watch another one?
Yeah.
No, you're going to be like, fuck this.
Well,
I'm
the
never.
Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
fucking God that's almost over.
I don't know if we should really use that as an example since it was one of the highest.
I don't fucking care.
Know.
I don't care.
I know.
We are idiots as a society for continuing to support
let's
that.
just get to the center of it. Fuck Chuck Lorre. Just say that. Just fuck you, Chuck Lorre,
Yes.
for making ignorant comedies that the masses loved, like fucking Jay Leno. So just fuck you
There you go.
and the ignorant people of America.
Perfect.
A lot of people
Perfect.
just like broad, shitty, lowest common denominator comedy.
Yes, they do. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, you
you're
can
just
like what-
dumb. That's it.
Just admit it.
Yeah. Just admit that you're stupid and you like things that don't challenge you. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that's the thing about the Big Bang. People are like, "Oh, it's over your head. It's too smart for you." I'm like, "No,
it's under my
So
fucking
wait,
head.
who the
And I
fuck
hate
ever
having
said
to
that
look
to you?
past my balls
dude,
to get the fucking
dude, people that
jokes.
love that fucking show are like,
Like, I've heard people say that about Rick and Morty. I've never heard them say that about Big Bang Theory. Like, oh, you're just not intellectual enough to understand
because
the
it says
Big Bang.
Big Bang at the
Stephanie
beginning.
That's a
at
science
the
thing.
Weekender. Stephanie at the Weekender. Stephanie, what the hell was her last name?
Are
She
you
was-
gonna trash her or?
Oh yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I
Stephanie,
can't-
who gives a fuck at
Give
the
a fuck?
weekend?
Does anybody give a fuck
Just
about the
say
weekend
that.
anymore?
Well, no, this is back when it mattered.
Okay.
But she,
This is when
she's
it was
like,
still a real
It's
publication.
over your, it's over your head. You don't understand. You don't get it. I'm like, no, I get it. It fucking sucks. The fuck was her last name?
That's just shit people say to make themselves feel better.
Right.
It's like, oh well, you just don't get it. No, the problem is I get it. That's the fucking problem.
I get it. It sucks.
Well, let's wrap up with some good comedy. You have a new album out.
Yes.
And that was recorded locally?
Yes. I recorded 2 shows. One down in Lewisburg at the Brasserie, and then the other one was at
The cafe.
the cafe and American Bistro in Plains, PA. The Wilkes-Barre show was just a little bit better than the Lewisburg show, so that's the recording that ended up on the album. That was some of my favorite material that I'd ever done, and that's out now on Bandcamp, CD Baby. It's called Utilitarian. If you go to Bandcamp, you can find all 3 of my albums on there. And then also I sell all that shit at shows as well.
Yeah, if you see Zack out in the wild, he definitely has those CDs on him, so you could buy one.
Zack in the Wild.
Well, as soon as you see the track list right up front, you should know what you're
Yes.
getting into.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about doing an album is coming up with track titles because it lets you know exactly what you're getting into.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I got to help you a little bit with the last time, and this time, and I was excited because I woke up one day to a text from him with the track listing, and I was like, it's like Christmas morning. You just see all the shit he came with, like, oh, I'm actually glad that I didn't get to see them before they were finalized because they're just wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful album.
So I don't want to give too much of a spoiler, but they're named after school shootings.
Well, no, they're named after tragedies.
Tragedies in
Yeah,
general.
unfortunately, there weren't
Some of them
enough
are
school
school-
shootings
yeah.
to justify,
To
all
justify
the,
the
tracks
whole
there.
Had there been, it
Whether
would've
or
been
not
all
the track
school
is
Yeah.
actually about that.
Yeah.
It's just that's what they're named.
So the album's called Utilitarian, which is based off of the philosophy of accomplishing the most amount of good with the least amount of effort. And there's a philosophy
and for the
experiment.
most amount of people.
Right. So there's a what was it? Wanted covered it with the idea of kill one to save a million. So there's a philosophy experiment of it's called the Trolley Problem, where you're on a runaway trolley on a track and you're coming up on a split track, and one of the split tracks has 1 person on it, and the other split track has 5 people on it, and then you are able to switch the track and decide you have to kill somebody. So you can either kill 1 person or kill 5.
And isn't part of the thing too that it's already pointed at the 5? So if you switch it, you would actually have the
Either way,
agency
you're
of-
making the decision
Right.
as to how many people you're
right.
going.
But the
to
idea,
kill.
but the idea of it pointing at 5 first is because it's agency then that if it's already pointed at 5 and you don't do anything, you're technically not to blame because you had no agency in it.
Right.
Right.
Whereas if you switch it to the 1 person, yeah, you saved 5 people, but you were the one personally who
Right.
murdered that other person.
So
Yeah.
the track titles are based around. So it'll say like 1, and then an ellipsis and say kid to prevent Sandy Hook, with the idea of are you willing to kill 1 kid to prevent that tragedy? And then the numbers keep.
I'm so offended right now.
Yeah, good.
So offended.
And the numbers keep increasing of how many people are you willing to kill to prevent specific tragedies. And it's a fun thought experiment that I also do in the album, and I make people wish they hadn't
so-
participated.
That's such a great joke. Dude. the actual utilitarian joke is very good.
It's so cool. Like my brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't. Like I'm just not creative. I'm not like it's just not how I operate. I'm black and white
Were you
numbers.
a DJ and a photographer?
No
Were you?
photographer. Never.
Why did I think you were a
I have
photographer?
no idea. I can't even see out of my left eye.
Well, that's not. But you're a DJ, right? That
Fair enough.
abuts on creativity, if not.
No. I
completely
mean, I. What are we getting? What was that? No, I mean, like, I do an hour a week. Like, that's not really. I tell people what's going on, where it's happening, and how they can obtain what I'm playing. So it's not creativity.
No, but everybody has their own creative outlet that comes naturally to them. You just have to figure out what it is.
But
like,
I appreciate that, thought
thank
process.
you.
Yeah, it's neat. It's
Pete Holmes once said something that was I think it was from another comic, and you might know who the original quote was. But the idea was like, most thoughts that a stand-up comic has are the same that anybody else has. Their brains are just wired differently to trap them when they go through their head.
Sure.
Yeah.
And relay them.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I mean, think about it. How many times have you watched a comedy special, you're like, I've thought that before, but I've never articulated, I've never vocalized it in that particular way.
What was the Chappelle quote of comedy is a language and I speak it well? And like that's all it is. It's a language that we just naturally understand, and then over the years you refine it and you just develop that skill to like a fine point to where you can take whatever is going to float through your head and figure out, all right, this is how I can make this funny so everybody can appreciate it. That's it. That's
good stuff.
Was there no hate?
There's no hate.
We got Tommy Stone.
No,
okay.
what Tommy said.
He said that he's doing a grandma's basement tour. He's doing sets in the basement of all his grandma's friends, and it only costs him a few $100. It's good for you, Tommy.
Glad you got abducted.
He is, and then he makes fun of Chris Jones for being so politically correct in these comments.
Fair.
And he says, "How much are the meet and greets on these brewery tours? I want to get my album signed."
They're free. Just,
Well, for Tommy, $35.
yeah.
That's fair.
It's $1 for
Inflation,
every point in your IQ.
Here we go.
But I think the main thing to keep in mind too, where we're talking about people being offended about comedy and everything else too, is I feel like entertainment has different rules than real life too. I think the
Absolutely.
people that
Yeah.
Fox News just flipped out today. They wrote an article about Jamie Lee Curtis firing a gun in a movie, in the new Halloween movie, I think, or something.
yes,
Because
she's
anti-gun.
in real life.
So the fuck? She's an
The
actress.
character isn't.
Yes,
That's
exactly
like,
right.
You know
She's
that things
playing
like rape and murder and stuff, that kind of has to happen in certain stories to make the story move forward. Like, that's the art of storytelling. Like,
Right.
you have to have that in there. There's violence in stories. There's bad shit in stories. That's the point of telling stories.
Robert Englund doesn't actually
That's what
murder
somebody said.
children, right?
There's a ton of tweets of like different people saying like it's like Ray Fiennes obviously is not a fucking creep like he is in all his movies.
And Red
Right.
Dragon.
Yeah. Like,
fucking Daniel Craig isn't really a spy. Tom
never tied to a
Cruise
chair and had his
does
balls
not
bit.
work for the IMF.
Santa Claus doesn't exist. Holy fuck!
isn't Will's son watching this?
Who's?
Will.
Not anymore, he's
God
not.
damn it. Sorry, buddy.
They're movies, you fucks. Like, what the hell is wrong
calm
with you?
the fuck down.
Stephen King isn't really a fucking lunatic. I mean, he is, but what he creates does not determine who he is. Like, they're creative outlets. Like, how
the whole world is insane right now.
It is.
And I'm not making light of this. The whole thing with Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford.
Right.
I was having a conversation with somebody about it, and I was like, Jesus, that poor. Like, I can't even imagine. And we can't. We're 4 white dudes sitting on couches right now. We have no idea.
Right.
No idea at all. And the guy I'm talking to goes, and he's like a libertarian. And he's very, all of the media is just about directing your attention. Nothing's ever true or anything. Yep. And he goes, you know who I feel really bad? This is right after I said I feel bad for her. He goes, you know who I feel really bad for? The people in Yemen getting bombed.
Yeah, that's a real shame. So,
And
anyways,
and what, man? Like,
well, then do something about
yeah,
it.
what the fuck are you? You're telling me about it. I can't stop it. Like,
Well, it's
I'm not Iron Man. I have no control over this.
it's always misdirection too. It's
Yeah.
like we can be concerned about 2 things at once.
We can't.
You can
And
be
not only
concerned
that,
about
just so
multiple
we
things
know.
at once.
is it plausible that a ton of factors above us have taken the Kavanaugh thing and used it as a spec? Absolutely.
Right.
Does that change the fact that Dr. Ford went through something and it's probably ringing a bell for a lot of women in our country?
Right.
No, it doesn't change that. And that's the problem. Just because, yes, people are making a spectacle out of it, it doesn't really change that. Like,
And yes, life also sucks in Yemen.
It's fucking Yemen. What do you expect?
Clean energy.
Chandler from Friends.
Thank you. I was just thinking that. That's a real deep cut. Chandler went to Yemen to get away from Janice.
Yemen.
No, but there's a bunch of things in the world that suck. If you want to worry about something else, then fucking put your energy into that.
Yep.
Yeah,
You don't have to.
Don't use it as a weapon.
You don't have to
against other
shame
people.
other
And if
people
you
for
think,
what they
if you
care
think you're really
about.
changing the world by putting up passive-aggressive Facebook posts a couple times a week, you're fucking not.
Right.
Well, the problem is the internet, I think.
The internet's made us all fucking insane.
End
it
of the
absolutely
day.
We have
Yes.
too much
End
of a
of the-
sense of self-importance now.
Yeah. Everyone's got an opinion and they all suck.
Well, think about it. When we were kids, like it was the big drive of everybody's special, it's the beginning of the participation trophy and all this shit.
Self-esteem movement.
And it's gotten way fucking worse.
I was
because
never
now
part of
you
that.
can-
I was never part. What?
How old are you?
I'm 30. I'm gonna be 36 in like 20 days.
Did your parents not love you?
No, they just hit them. And
No,
let 'em know
they were like, you know what? Life is gonna suck. So
That's what mine did.
You want to play basketball? Like, no, you're 5'9" and you're white. Like, sorry. Like,
It's not gonna
what do you want to
Oh
do?
yeah, no. Like my brother was great
Not
at
even putting a
sports, but
hoop up
he
on the
said-
fucking garage.
No, like, forget it. Learn how to fucking use your brain and get out of there. You know.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but like when I was a kid, I remember that there were certain jobs that we used to kind of like make fun of and look down on, like a janitor or like a garbage man.
Yeah.
Yo, I would give anything to be a fucking garbage man right
know,
now.
right?
That fucking that great pay and benefits. Fuck you.
Dude,
First
there are
grade.
garbage men in Philadelphia that kick field goals.
First grade. What do you want to be when you grow up? Garbage man. Second, bus driver. Sign me up. Two things I wanted to be.
No, man, it's
I'd love to drive a bus full
we
of
had
kids off a cliff.
I feel bad for. I feel bad for our generation because we went through that. Like we had this drive of like, we used to make fun of the kids who went to Votech, the vocational school.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Way better
No,
off.
they're so
No,
much
because
better
it's
off
our
than we
parents-
are.
no,
Exactly.
Our parents were taught like a certain way, so they taught us like, don't be losers like us. Go to school.
Yeah.
The
get
idea
good grades.
of I
go to
want you to
college.
be better than me.
But
They don't know
doesn't-
what the fuck that means.
No.
But they
That's
fucked
the
us
thing.
though. But they fucked us.
My dad worked. My dad made decent money, but not great money. But he worked physically his whole life. He built and repaired radar sets for the government at Tobyhanna. He always said to me like, I don't want you to have a job that's going to break your back to make good money.
Right.
And I understood that. But at the same time, like, I wish somebody had been around when I was studying history and be like, fucking learn computer programming or something, asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
you're not doing anything with that history degree.
I was like, I'm gonna be an accountant. Okay, yeah, okay, let's do that. Like, I went in marketing. Like, not
But
even better.
accounting at least is a marketable skill.
Yeah.
I have a
And if you get
history-
tied in with the mob, you're set.
Yeah,
right.
well, maybe I should have been an accountant then. I don't know, but
cook them.
No,
sounds-
it might be boring sometimes, but like, what do you do with
No,
that
but
psychology?
When the mob's
degree? Like,
breathing down your neck,
no, my parents were
just
just like,
everything, it's really exciting.
yeah,
you know,
cook them
it was-
books.
it was the go to high school, get good grades, get to college, get
college,
good grades,
yeah.
white picket fence, all that bullshit. It's like,
Yeah,
well,
the
am I
Fun
happy?
Club argument of what are you supposed to do next? Get married, have
Yeah.
kids. Like, well, then what after that? You're just a generation that's just being
Yeah.
told to do a bunch of shit that
And
the
you do
previous
it.
generation doesn't know what the fuck they're talking
Yeah.
about. But in regards to the internet, the biggest problem with that is people can say whatever the fuck they want, and the only recourse they have is somebody just responding to
Yeah.
them on
Yeah.
social media. I grew up in a time where we just started getting the internet, but you also still had to say shit to somebody's face
Right.
and accept the consequences right then and there. That
Right.
doesn't exist
Nope.
anymore.
Yeah.
nope.
You can have the biggest balls in the world when you're sitting in your cushy chair just saying stupid shit to people online. If you actually had to say that to their face,
They wouldn't.
No.
They wouldn't.
And some people do that and they get knocked the fuck out and they're
Yeah.
like, I don't understand what happened. Well, you talk shit.
You get hit.
Yeah.
I hate to cut off the conversation, but we got to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having
thank
us,
you.
man.
Some real talk. It was a good time. Make sure that you guys you continue to see these guys on the Brewery Comedy Tour, wherever that may be. Check out. You have a Facebook page. People
Yeah,
can
Zack
find that
Hammond
out.
comedian on Facebook. You can find Dan
On Facebook.
Dan Hoppel on Facebook. Also, for anybody in the area, in 2 weeks on the 26th and the 27th at King's College, they're doing a writers conference. I will be there as an alumni. I'll be doing a reading and I'll be teaching a course on the necessity of talking about offensive topics and things in comedy. And then on November 9th, I'll be at the Little Theater of Wilkes-Barre. So I'm
That's something-
rarely local. So if you want to see me, get out to that show.
And also, Utilitarian is available now.
Yep.
Please check it out.
Bandcamp.com.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to be in the audience for both recordings, and it is a fantastic album. It really is. It's. I mean, I've let friends listen to it. Everybody loves it.
Are you gonna suck his dick now or after this is over?
Hey, got to promote. The more I promote him, the longer this
I'm
lasts.
kidding. It's a joke.
Can we get blurry blocks like while he does it, like The Sims?
Yes. I'm kidding. You guys are awesome.
Teach those soft college kids some good learning there.
Actually, Kings is pretty cool. They don't have they don't mind offensive humor. They actually get it.
And you've done this before, there, right?
That's good.
Yes, this is my third time doing a writers' conference there, so it's fantastic. If you're around, I think 6 o'clock at McGowan at King's on Friday, and then 8 in the morning on Saturday in the same place. Just come out; it's a great time.
No, and I appreciate your support for your. You know.
Oh no, dude! I know that you're fine. I
don't.
That's what we do. That's why we do what we do. So
Yeah.
It goes back to the whole thing about like booking your friends on shows. Like I do love Zack; he's my best friend in the world. But I still wouldn't tell people to spend their hard-earned money
I know.
on something that sucked.
No, and I love Dan, and if he weren't funny, he would not be touring with me.
Well, make sure you check these guys out. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks,
We will
everybody.
see
Thank you
you
so much
next-
for watching.
next,
thank you,
Wednesday.
beer boys. Thank you, V.
Yes, thank you for that delicious beer.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's more than water.